things had gotten to a point where I felt like I needed something completely different. I had tried every self-help, therapist, lottery. I, go to school, go back to school, change career, change location where you lived, change everything but the husband, and that's only because he insisted on coming. And things hadn't changed because nothing inside of me had changed. And so changing everything outwardly hadn't helped. Reading all these books hadn't helped. Meditation hadn't helped. Everything but drugs. I tried everything but drugs.
I was at a place in my life where I was very, very unhappy. There was nothing wrong from the exterior signs that this person should be unhappy, but internally I was screaming because I was so unhappy. And it was all these empty screams which were manifesting itself in a lot of suffering.
Inside feeling like I was not alive and that I'd been dead for a while, and I didn't know how to feel happy. I was in a relationship that was not fulfilling, and I was sticking it out because I thought that's what I should be doing. And it wasn't working, sticking it out, so I knew I needed to do something completely different to feel better, to feel happier.
Went to impress her and go for the kiss, and she was not impressed, to say the least. Really beat myself up over that for a while, and just kind of settled in for about a month or two after that of just going through the motions of my life and still always thinking about her, always thinking about, okay, this girl, she's great, she's amazing, she's like no one else I've ever met. I never felt this way about a woman. I have to have her. So I'd go on Facebook and I'd be looking through all of her stuff, and I think at some point I'm going through and I'm in my apartment alone, it's dark, and I'm just realizing what I'm doing. And there's this moment where, for lack of a better term, there was a breaking point, a waking up. I didn't know what it was at the time, but the feeling of it was looking around as if I'd just been dropped into my own body and dropped into this situation and looked at this and, how did I get here? What is this? This is nothing like what I thought I could have, thought I could feel. It was awful. Everything was just, everything was wrong. And I didn't know what to do with that. But I just knew for a moment that everything I'd been thinking, everything that had driven the decisions I'd made had gotten me to this point.
What started me on this process was my 60th birthday. I decided I'd been living with some medical condition, and I decided on my 60th birthday 5 years was enough, and I took care of that, and things got better, and started looking at my life, and my kids were grown, and it's empty. Felt like I was dying inside.
Really, there were so many factors that led up to it. I mean, not to mention that I had gotten to the point with my work that there was a bridge on the way to work, and not that I was ever going to do it, but I knew that I had the option that I could just steer towards the sidewall, but I wasn't going to do it. But in my head, I knew I had that option, so that obviously was not a particularly good thing. Another thing was that I would literally wake up in the morning crying. I mean, just my first thing, waking up crying. So these were not good things. But the thing that really, really got me was I was a pretty active person. And we have a love seat in front of our fireplace, which in the wintertime was kind of, we'd hang out in front of the fireplace. And my side of the love seat had a dip in it because I was sitting in it so much. And that just was just so out of character for me and just made me realize just incredibly how wrong things were.
From thinking it through and writing about it, and what I had to change was me. I knew that. I knew that there was a way to feel good if I worked on me. And I just needed somebody's help to do that. I didn't know how to do it on my own.
If I was that unhappy when there was nothing wrong with my life, then it was a lot of mental stuff, and that's, I think, fixing a broken leg or fixing even cancer was going to be easier than changing your mind and how it works, because it's been with you forever and ever since you were born. And that was just hellish. I knew what it was like to be in hell at that point.
What really helped me feel a comfort with something that was not comfortable for me, this whole idea of what I was starting to get into was not comfortable, but Gary has a science background. And so that made the approach, I think, in a context that I felt comfortable with and that I resonated with, and that made sense to me.
I've read so many different, Tolle and Chopra and all these different, Buddha and everything, and they all point, Christ, Jesus, he's master of love. And they all point the same way. And they have this really big concept of love, and it sounds great and you want it, but then how do you get there? So, to get there you need some kind of action steps. But you just don't need action steps to tell you what to do, because you need to decide, because you get to choose. So with Gary's stuff, he points and he nudges and he does some advanced scouting, and it's always good to have that help. But he doesn't tell you what to do. You get to choose. And so you get these action steps, and you get to make your own do-it-yourself tool set. And then once you make it, you always got it with you. And so you can, when you see something coming, you get a chance to step back and decide what you want to do.
So what I liked was that it looked at all the aspects: emotions, thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and action, and how they're all tied together.
Thought, you know what? It's $100. I'll try it, and began to work through the sessions. And I really found that it was something that worked for me, as opposed to being presented, here's the idea of acceptance and forgiveness and love. Don't think about that for now. Just do these exercises. Focus on your attention. Practice gratitude. I'm not going to tell you where it goes, but just do it. Trust me on this. And I was okay with that. I'll trust you. I'll do this. And every 2 weeks I got into it and started doing it and practicing it, and really actually began to notice some changes.
What I really liked about it was the fact how much I hated it. If that makes any sense, because the first one was gratitude, and I had nothing to be grateful for. I felt no gratitude whatsoever, knowing intellectually I should, because I'm not starving, I'm not dying, I'm not in war, I have a country, I have things which most people would so much cherish that they don't have it, and I had nothing to feel grateful for, and that was such a difficult exercise for me. And then I knew this is what I have to do.
The anger is what kept me going, because I was so angry. I was like, this course isn't going to beat me. I'm going to go and finish all these exercises and finish this course, because it's just bullshit. So I'm going to finish it. And then for some reason I thought, well, I'm going to talk to this guy who made this bullshit course. And then he made me even madder. And he'd say things that were so honest and so direct, and I would just feel like, well, I'll show him. So then after a while, what I realized was that in the showing, for all my resistance and all my hostility, Gary just kept saying, well, that's fine, you're fine the way you are. I was like, huh? Because I kept trying to provoke him. I kept trying to provoke Gary until I got this. I wanted this. I wanted a reaction. I wanted the strong response. I wanted to provoke. That's how I always got satisfaction, the provoking, the conflict. And there was a person that was like you. I will be here, no matter what you do. I will still be here. I will still love you. And no one had ever loved the negative side of me. No one had loved the hostile, angry, forceful, controlling person. And here was a person that said, well, you can keep on being this way forever, and that's all right. And there was suddenly a release. That if someone could love me for that way, the way I was, and think that was fine, and indeed think I was amusing and funny that way, then I didn't need it anymore. And it dropped. And then I knew, oh, it's not bullshit, and some part of me must have known that because I kept pursuing it.
What I think is different about it is the way it breaks down something that's very profound into something that's very easy to digest in pieces. So it's look at, okay, just focus on gratitude. Being grateful for something, anything. Just do that. Go and, when you're looking at your emotion, just note what you're attributing that to. Don't do anything more with that, just do that. Where's my attention? Where am I paying attention to right now? And those are very basic things that you wouldn't get from a lot of, I think, spiritual teachings that would be, or self-improvement programs, or however you choose to look at it, where you're given something very holistically.
Well, you know, in this world where, you know, you have all these, people have all these expectations, and you're told what you can and can't do, and all those voices are always in your head. And with the Course, what I found out, you know, start with gratitude, and then you go to different, you know, abdication of power and different things like that. It was just really helpful to be able to realize that, you know, I get to make my own emotions. I mean, you don't go to school, you don't learn that stuff. You know, you just think, you know, well, it just happens, you know. He makes me mad, she makes me mad, you know, but actually they don't.
My relationship with my children changed in the sense that I don't try to control them. Whereas I was responsible for whether they were happy or whether they were this. Somehow it all kind of came back to me. And now, even when they're sad, they're not happy, or if whatever they're doing, I don't think that that's me.
Now it's been 4.5 years about, and 6 very full journals, and a lot of work, a lot of time contemplating, making time for myself, making time for my practice. I call it my practice. And I am in such an incredibly different place. And that couch is still there, but it's had time to come back up because I'm not sitting in it anymore.
Of course I can't stop practicing. I can't go back to where I was before. It becomes more than just, here's something you do to fix something. It becomes, here's how you go and live your life now. I wanted a way to live my life differently. And this got me going in that direction, where I live my life differently now. And I think there's always the opportunity to live my life in a better way.
What was so wonderful about the Course was like, what kind of experience do I want to have every day when I live my life? And from that, you can go further, and then you have even more control because you can make bigger decisions about your life. Maybe I do want to change careers, but now I'm doing it from a place of conscious choice. It's not something that I felt like I had to do because, you know, someone wanted that for me or the culture wanted that for me. I found incredible freedom in that.
Before that, I felt paralyzed in decisions. Like when I went to campus to apply for grad school, and I was overwhelmed by the thought of it, of making that decision. And now I could actually make those decisions.
The only thing that seems to be the most, in the foreground, and that is seeping through everything, is just feeling this unending love, and like it's bottomless, and knowing that I can tap into that at any time.
Accepting myself for the first time.
Where am I now? Okay, where am I now emotionally than where I was before? I am overflowing, bubbling up, and it's very hard to keep contained. I feel that I am lived by love, and that's where I'm at.